A decade ago, Seraphina Marlowe, a brilliant but troubled astrophysics student, disappeared without a trace after a late-night study session at her university. Her family and friends were left shattered, clinging to fading hope, until the day she strode into a police station, unharmed but eerily changed. Her eyes held secrets darker than the void of space, and her whispered confession would unravel a chilling conspiracy tying her abduction to a clandestine experiment far beyond human comprehension. This is the story of a woman who vanished into the unknown, and what followed her back. Before we jump into this incredible story, drop a comment, let us know where you're watching from. And if you enjoy this video, be sure to subscribe for more. The night Seraphina Marlowe vanished, the university library groaned under the weight of a storm not predicted by any meteorologist. Rain slashed sideways against the windows like frantic fingers trying to get in. 22-year-old Sera, her auburn hair tangled into a chaotic bun, her sweater sleeves stretched over ink-stained fingers, was the last person left in the physics wing. Her roommate, Leora Vale, had begged her to leave. "The lab will still be here tomorrow," Leora had said, clutching her umbrella like a weapon against the weather. But Sera had only smiled, her green eyes reflecting the lightning outside. "I can't stop now," she whispered. "I'm so close to proving it." Leora left at 11:03 p.m. She would later tell police that Sera seemed exhilarated, not afraid, as if she were on the verge of something monumental. The security footage showed Sera gathering her notebooks, her movements quick and purposeful. Then, at 11:47 p.m., the cameras in the astronomy lab hallway malfunctioned for exactly 37 seconds. When the feed restored, Sera was gone. Her backpack was found at dawn near the university's radio telescope, its contents strewn across the wet grass as if dropped mid-stride. Inside, a half-finished thesis on quantum entanglement, a vial of prescription anxiety medication, unopened, and a notebook filled with equations that 3 government agencies would later classify. On the last page, scribbled in margins too narrow for the fury of the handwriting, was a looping spiral labeled "The Gate," and beneath it, a single sentence in shaky capitals: "They're already here." For a decade, the Marlowes were a family of ghosts. Dr. Isolde Marlowe, Sera's mother, became a fixture at the campus police station, her once pristine lab coat replaced by a fraying sweater. She hired private investigators, psychics, even a retired FBI agent who specialized in high-strangeness cases. All roads led to dead ends, except one. A redacted email from a colleague mentioned Project Event Horizon, a Cold War-era initiative studying acausal phenomena. The file was sealed under a presidential order. Meanwhile, Calliope Marlowe, Sera's younger sister by 8 years, channeled her grief into activism. She papered the city with missing posters, organized vigils, and gave interviews where she seethed about the system failing women like Sera. But at night, she scoured conspiracy forums, chasing a thread about spatial tears and a shadowy research group called the Ninth Circle. Then, on November 12, 2033, the phone rang. "Ma'am," said a voice from the precinct, "you need to come down here." Isolde's knees buckled. Calliope caught her. Neither dared to hope. The police station was too bright, too loud. Officers milled about, their eyes darting to the woman sitting stiffly in interview room B. She looked like Sera. Same sharp cheekbones, same freckle beneath her left eye. But her hair, once a vibrant auburn, was now white at the roots, as if bleached by time. Her clothes were the ones she'd vanished in. A university sweatshirt, jeans, scuffed Converse. Not a speck of dirt. When Isolde whispered her name, the woman's head snapped up. Her pupils were dilated, black swallowing green. "Mom," Sera said. The word sounded foreign in her mouth. She couldn't, or wouldn't, explain where she'd been. Only that they didn't mean to let me go, and that she'd followed the voices. When the detective asked who they were, Sera began humming a discordant tune. Then, abruptly, she grabbed a pen and scrawled a string of numbers on a napkin. 37.7749 degree N, 122.4194 degrees W. San Francisco. But when Calliope Googled it, the result made her blood freeze. The coordinates led to a decommissioned military base, and a 1973 news clipping about a physicist who'd vanished after claiming to have opened a door to elsewhere. The Nevada facility was a corpse of concrete and rust. Inside, Calliope and Leora found a control room frozen in time, dusty monitors, a chalkboard smeared with equations eerily similar to Sera's, and a VHS tape labeled Termination Protocol. The footage showed a man in a lab coat screaming as the camera distorted. Asterisk, the bridge is open. Asterisk, he howled. Asterisk, they're coming through. God, their eyes. Asterisk, the tape ended with a burst of static. Then Leora noticed it, a symbol etched into the wall. The same spiral from Sera's notebook. Back home, Sera's condition worsened. She began muttering in a guttural language, her fingers twitching as if typing on an invisible keyboard. When Isolde hooked her to an EEG, the machine flatlined, then spiked with a pattern that shouldn't exist. Her brainwaves, the neurologist breathed. Asterisk, there, fractal. Asterisk. That night, the city's power failed for exactly 37 seconds. Security cameras caught shadows moving against the wind, and Sera, writhing in her hospital bed, gasped a final warning. You have to close it before they see asterisk you. Asterisk. The USB drive contained blueprints for a machine labeled asterisk the gate. Asterisk. But the last file was a video. A grainy 1948 recording showed a woman in a lab coat, her face identical to Sera's, addressing the camera. Asterisk, if you're watching this, the iteration failed. Destroy the designs. They're learning from our mistakes. Asterisk. Calliope understood then. Sera wasn't taken. She was sent back. As she burned the USB, the sky above the hospital rippled. A sound like radio static filled the air. And in Sera's empty room, the EEG machine flickered to life one last time, printing a message in perfect Morse code. Asterisk, next time we won't miss. Asterisk. The static clung to the air like a living thing as Calliope stared at the ashes of the USB drive. The hospital lights flickered again, once, twice, before steadying. But something was wrong. The shadows in the corner of Sera's room no longer followed the laws of physics. They pulsed as if breathing. Leora grabbed Calliope's arm, her fingers ice cold. We need to go. Now. As they sprinted down the hallway, the walls seemed to warp, the sterile white stretching like taffy. Behind them, a sound, not a voice, not machinery, but something in between, whispered Sera's name. Calliope's phone buzzed. A notification, an email from an address that shouldn't exist. 9th_circle_archive@null.org. The subject line, you were right, T.O. Burnett. The attachment was a single image, a black and white photo of a research team, dated 1948. In the center stood a woman who looked exactly like Sera, her hand resting on a machine shaped like a spiraling door. Scrawled on the back, asterisk, iteration 37, failure. Subject exhibited awareness. Recommend termination before full recall. Asterisk. Calliope's breath hitched. Iteration, as if Sera were a prototype. The Ninth Circle wasn't just a research group. It was a cabal. Buried in the email's metadata were coordinates, this time leading to a bunker beneath an old church in upstate New York. Inside, they found files spanning a century. Test subjects, missing scientists, blueprints for devices that bent reality, and a ledger. Names, dates, outcomes. Marlowe Seraphina, iteration 38, status recalled. But the most chilling discovery? A live feed on a dusty monitor, showing a room identical to Sera's hospital suite. Inside, a figure sat on the bed, its back to the camera. It turned its head. Not Sera, but close enough to make Leora scream. The feed cut to a symbol, the same spiral from the Nevada facility, and a timer, 00:37:00. Then a new email. They know you're here. Run. The bunker's lights died. In the dark, something scraped against the floor. Too many limbs. Too many joints. Calliope fumbled for her phone, the glow illuminating a message scrawled in what looked like blood on the wall. You can't close the door, but you can lock it. Leora pulled up a map. The timer wasn't a countdown to their deaths. It was a countdown to something else. An event. An opening. The coordinates matched a quantum research facility in Switzerland. Calliope understood. The Ninth Circle wasn't trying to stop the door from opening. They were trying to control what came through. And Sera, iteration 38, was the key. But the Sera in the hospital wasn't the original. She was a copy, a scout, and she'd led them right to the heart of the storm. 1 month later, the video leaked. Ellora's own footage, the documents, the names. Project Silhouette was exposed. Protests erupted. Investigations launched. But Ellora didn't surface. Not right away. She watched from afar as the world unraveled the truth she helped bury. In time, she recorded a message, face hidden in shadow. I was Ellora Venn. I wanted to forget pain. I wanted to help others do the same. But some pain must be remembered, because it's what makes us human. Her voice cracked. We don't need perfect minds, we need honest hearts. The message went viral. People debated, mourned, reflected. And in a quiet village far from the chaos, Elora walked through a garden filled with Wren's favorite flowers. She placed a photo on the ground, her and Run smiling, before everything changed. She whispered, "I remember you now." As she stood, a girl approached. Young, bright-eyed. "Are you the lady from the video?" Elora smiled faintly. "I was." The girl handed her a notebook. "Then you should tell more stories." Elora looked down. The first page read, "Truth begins where memory ends." She nodded. The world was watching. And this time, she would not vanish. She would speak. Elora spent her days in quiet reflection, but her story ignited something much larger than herself. Survivors of other forgotten programs began coming forward. Whispers of similar experiments, mind suppression trials, and memory manipulations bubbled to the surface. A global reckoning followed. In the shadows of courtrooms and Senate hearings, the name Elora Venn became both a warning and a symbol. For some, she was a traitor to science. For others, a savior who cracked open the illusion of control. But to those who had been silenced, she was a mirror, their pain finally acknowledged, their voices finally heard. Despite the chaos, Elora found peace in small things: sunlight through leaves, the sound of rain on her window, and the journal she now kept religiously, not to erase, but to remember. She no longer feared the dark. In it, she had found herself. And as the world kept spinning, messy, unhealed, and beautifully imperfect, Elora began to speak again. She gave lectures, wrote letters, and guided others through the fragile terrain of memory. The experiment meant to make her forget had, in the end, taught her to feel. In a final entry to her journal, she wrote, "We are not defined by what we forget, but by what we choose to carry forward." She paused, then signed her name, not as a subject, but as a survivor. Elora Venn. Elora's story is a haunting reminder of how easily lives can be rewritten, and how powerful it is to reclaim your truth. If her journey moved you, challenged you, or made you see the world a little differently, don't let it end here. Share this story with someone who needs to remember they are not alone, that healing is possible, and that the past, no matter how lost, can still be found. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more unforgettable stories that stay with you long.